In the shadows of 1998 St. Petersburg, a single burst of gunfire didn't just kill a woman, it silenced the conscience of a nation. How does a democratic icon vanish in a stairwell guarded by the state? Why did the trail of breadcrumbs lead from the halls of the State Duma directly into the blood-soaked boardrooms of the Tambov Gang? This isn't just a cold case, it's the blueprint for the modern political hit. The night the light went out. The air in St. Petersburg on November 20th, 1998 was thick with the scent of wet pavement and looming winter. Galina Starovoytova, the Iron Lady of Russian democracy, stepped into the entryway of her apartment building on the Griboyedov Canal. She was carrying more than just her briefcase. She was carrying evidence that would have dismantled the corrupt nexus of the Russian elite. Then the darkness spoke. Two assassins, draped in the anonymity of the night, unleashed a hail of lead from an Agram 2000 submachine gun. Galina fell. Her aide, Ruslan Linkov, lay bleeding beside her. The shooters didn't just flee, they evaporated. As the investigation cooled, the underworld began to heat up. Starovoytova wasn't just a politician, she was a predator of corruption. She was investigating the illegal financing of political parties by the Tambov Gang, a sprawling criminal syndicate that functioned like a shadow government. The twist? The gunmen weren't just common thugs. They were members of a private security firm with deep ties to former military intelligence. The assassination was a masterclass in the syndicate. Logic. Use the mob to pull the trigger so the state can keep its hands clean. Investigative note. When the line between a lawmaker and a lawbreaker disappears, the truth becomes the most dangerous weapon in the room. If you find yourself hungry for more deep dives into these hidden power structures, you might find the archives at Behind the Veil Truths to be a vital resource for your own research. The Puppet Masters. The trial years later revealed a chilling reality. Yuri Kolchin, a former GRU officer, was convicted of organizing the hit, but Kolchin was a middleman. The orders allegedly came from higher up, from the very people Starovoytova sat across from in the Duma. The investigation hit a brick wall when it reached the untouchables. Money had moved through offshore accounts in Cyprus, laundered through legitimate front companies, and used to buy the silence of the very officials tasked with solving the murder. It was a closed loop. The final twist. Just as the case seemed settled with a few low-level convictions, a new witness emerged in the late 2010s, pointing the finger back at Mikhail Glushchenko, a former lawmaker. The revelation confirmed the worst fears of the Russian public. The mob didn't just influence the government. In 1990s Russia, the mob was the government. The hit on Galina wasn't a crime of passion. It was a corporate restructuring. The veil is lifting. Galina Starovoytova once said, "Only the one who stays on the path will reach the end." Today, that path is littered with the ghosts of those who dared to speak. The connection between the Tambov Gang and the political hits of the late 90s remains a jagged scar on the face of modern history. A reminder that the Wild East never truly went away. It just put on a suit. As we peel back the layers of these forgotten files, the questions only get darker. To stay ahead of the narrative and ensure you never miss a piece of the puzzle, subscribing to Behind the Veil Truths is the best way to keep the light burning in the dark. The investigation continues. We've only scratched the surface of the St. Petersburg underground. What happened to the missing millions Galina was tracking? Who were the silent partners in the shadows who authorized the final command? I want to hear your theories in the comments. Do you believe the Tambov Gang acted alone, or were they merely the cleanup crew for the Kremlin? What do you think was in the documents Galina was carrying the night she died? When will the full, unredacted files of the 1998 investigation finally see the light of day? The truth is out there, buried under layers of silence. Are you ready to dig deeper? Would you like me to investigate the mysterious accidents involving the journalists who tried to follow Galina's lead next? The damp walls of the Griboyedov Canal apartments didn't just echo with gunfire that night, they echoed with the sound of a conspiracy shifting gears. If you thought the hit on Galina Starovoytova was a simple mob execution, you've been looking at the static, not the signal. The deeper we dig into the archives, the more the official story begins to fracture like thin ice. The ghost in the machine. As the investigation into the Tambov Gang's involvement intensified, a chilling realization struck the few honest detectives left in St. Petersburg. The surveillance tapes from the night of the murder had vanished. But they didn't just disappear, they were replaced. Leaked internal memos later suggested that a highly sophisticated electronic blanket had been thrown over the district. This wasn't the work of street thugs with leather jackets and Kalashnikovs. This was state-level signals intelligence. The twist? The technology used to jam the local police frequencies was restricted to the highest echelons of the security services. The assassins didn't just walk into a dark stairwell, they walked into a dead zone, created specifically for them. The third man, in the stairwell. For years, the world believed there were two shooters. But a forensic re-examination of the ballistics suggested a third trajectory. A shot fired from a different angle, likely a suppressed Beretta. This third man wasn't there to kill Galina. He was there to ensure the two contracted hitters didn't leave the scene with any second thoughts. It was a triple cross. The mob was hired to do the job, but a shadowy cleanup crew was watching the mob. This layer of insulation is exactly why the truth remains buried. To understand how deep these layers go, you have to look where others are afraid to stare. A journey we take every week on Behind the Veil Truths, where we peel back the fabric of the world's most dangerous secrets. The dead man's switch. The most heart-pounding turn in this investigation involves a missing briefcase. Galina was known to be carrying a blue folder containing evidence of the Red Mercury scams, a legendary black market trade involving nuclear materials and high-level government officials. When her body was found, the folder was gone. The twist. In 2004, a former intelligence officer turned whistleblower claimed that Galina had hidden a duplicate set of those documents in a Swiss safety deposit box. 3 days after he made this claim, he was found dead in a London hotel room from natural causes, at age 42. The key to the box was never found. Was Galina's death a warning to everyone else who knew about the nuclear mob connection? Field report. Every time a researcher gets close to the Swiss connection, the trail goes cold or a witness goes silent. If you value these deep state investigations, hit that like button and subscribe to Behind the Veil Truths to ensure this information stays in the public eye. The Phantom of the Duma. The final, most haunting twist came during the trial of Mikhail Glushchenko. Just as he was about to name the mastermind, the man who sat above both the mob bosses and the politicians, a series of strange technical difficulties and sudden illnesses plagued the courtroom. A high-ranking official, who cannot be named for security reasons, reportedly whispered to a journalist in the hallway. Galina didn't die because of what she had found. She died because of who she was planning to give it to. The hit wasn't an ending, it was a prevention. The person Galina was meeting that night was a defector from the inner circle who was ready to flip the entire system upside down. The investigation never sleeps. The shadows of St. Petersburg have grown long, and the players have changed their names, but the game remains the same. The blood on the stairwell of the Griboyedov Canal has dried, but the ink on the secret ledgers she died for is still fresh. The vault is open, and I want your perspective on these new revelations. Do you believe the third man was a government agent sent to monitor the mob's hit? If the Swiss safety deposit box exists, what do you think is the password to unlock the Red Mercury files? Why has every witness who mentions the electronic blanket disappeared or retracted their statement? The deeper we go, the more dangerous the air becomes. Are you willing to follow the trail to the very top? Would you like me to focus the next chapter of this investigation on the Red Mercury files and the string of mysterious deaths in London that followed?